And I believe that we can even, where were you testing? DNA or on-site?
On-site.
Okay. I can't really get any,
Excuse me.
can't really get any less expensive than that. I mean, I don't, well, if the weather would be nice, you can ride a bike maybe.
This one spirals fast. Multiple missed drug tests, a positive for cocaine, and now the excuses start stacking. No ride, no money, no options, at least that's the claim. But the judge isn't buying surface-level explanations. Watch closely because every answer here gets tested, and not just the drug tests.
Thank you. All right, let's go on the record in the matter of the state of Michigan versus Ashley Smoots, 26104.
Good morning, Your Honor. DiSanto, P8 afternoon, P82378 on behalf of Ms. Smoot, state your name.
Ashley Smoots.
All right, thank you. So today's the date scheduled for sentencing on your client's plea to controlled substance use, cocaine, and then controlled substance use, fentanyl. And there's also in the original charges of possession of controlled substance, felony matters were dismissed by way of resolution between counsel. And there's also bond violations that where it's alleged that your client tested positive for cocaine on February 12th and then failed to appear February 15th, 26th, 25th, March 4th, March 13th, March 17th. So, counsel, as to the bond violations, we can handle those first if you'd like.
Yes, Your Honor. So the reasoning is because she didn't have the money and the ride for the testing. So.
Okay, so is she pleading guilty or not guilty to the bond violations?
Well, they killed you. Yeah, I.
Okay.
Ask them.
Hold on, let me have you please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
All right, and so you heard the allegations for the bond violations, correct?
Correct.
As to those allegations, how do you plead?
Guilty.
You understand you do have the right to have a contested hearing in this matter. And by entering into a plea, you will not have that contested hearing. Do you understand that?
So just kidding. Okay.
Where you can have witnesses called and you can, I mean, that's what a contested hearing is. There can be questionings back and forth and.
Yeah.
You want a contested hearing?
No.
Okay, you understand that you won't be having one by entering into a plea.
Oh, yeah, I do.
And you also understand the possible penalty as a result of your plea.
I do.
Knowing all that, do you want to continue with your plea?
Yes.
Has anybody promised you anything, threatened you, or coerced you in any way for you to enter into a plea?
No.
And any, and counsel, if you'd like to vote your client.
So on February 16th, 2026, it's true that you tested positive for cocaine.
Yes.
And it also true that you failed to appear for testing on February 15th.
Mhm.
Did you
Is that yes?
to appear for testing on February 23rd,
Yes.
February 25th?
Yes.
March 4th,
Yes.
March 13th,
Yes.
March 17th.
Yes.
And what was the reason that you failed to appear for testing?
I could not afford the Uber ride there and back plus the testing cost. I'm not working right now. I could not afford it.
And you also tested positive for.
Yeah, my first test. Yes.
All right. And so, all right, the court does find the plea as knowing, voluntary, and factually accurate. The court will accept your plea to the bond violations. Man, did you contact into probation at all to communicate that you weren't able to get a ride or?
Yes, at my pre-sentencing, I did talk to them about that. I told them I could not afford it. And I did ask them if they had any things around that, like if I could test here instead of, taking Uber all the way there. And they said there was no way they could help me, that they didn't have any programs or anything, so
All right,
that's my only option.
We don't have transportation options for people, but you don't have anybody that could drive you?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
What about this gentleman? Mr. Kissy Face, he didn't want to be able to drive you?
No, he did not.
Your Honor, she did go to one, but obviously if you don't pay and you don't test, they don't give you any credit for actually showing up.
All right, so, and why aren't you working, ma'am?
I just got done having gastric bypass surgery, and I was supposed to be scheduled to have skin removal surgery. So that's what I was doing, and then I was going back to work at Detroit Metro Airport.
Detroit what?
Detroit Metro Airport.
Okay, so, council, the recommendation, I'll, hold the sentencing in abeyance. The recommendation is your client doesn't want to do probation. And so the recommendation is incarceration.
Correct, Your Honor. However, I know that the last time we were here, we discussed 7411, if she could plead under 7411. But I did do the research. The criminal law bench book constantly alludes to a probationary fee must be paid for a defendant to take advantage of 7411. So what I would be asking for today, and I don't know if the court would be willing to do it, because of the cost, if the court could maybe merge probation with the jail term, so that way she would be able to take advantage of the 7411. If she could do maybe a 30-day probation so that she can at least get that probation fee paid. I believe it's $30 a month, I think, for the district court. $50 a month for the district court. So if she could at least do that and then report for incarceration, that would at least give her the opportunity to still be able to be afforded the luxury of the 7411. Because as she stated, she does want to return to work. And I don't
She's very creative. Ma'am, if you test right now, what's in your system?
Big line medication, Flavin.
Anything else?
No.
So counsel, here's what I was prepared to do. I was prepared to order 365 days in jail, concurrent, so it's not consecutive.
if the court could consider maybe 2 months probation, which
So what I'm considering is reducing that 365 to be 180 days. Concurrent. With 6 months probation, your client can discharge early. She'd be eligible for early discharge. So I would do that at the end of the jail term. Do you see what I'm saying? So she'd serve the 6 months first. Then upon her release, there'd be 6 months of probation. As long as there's not any violations within those first 3 months, your client, and she's completed, the terms of probation, which, to be honest, would be the basic terms of not getting into trouble, and then she can petition after 3 months to be discharged. So then that
3-month probation.
it would end up being 3 months, yes. So as opposed to the full 6 months. So that would be, and then she could have that 7411 status upon her completion of the probation.
Would the court be willing to do the first 30 days of the probation now, and then the 6 months jail, and then 2 extra months probation?
No. I've already cut it in half.
Right. All right, would she be able to at least turn herself on tomorrow?
I have a few things I need to wrap up, the things I need to take care of still, that I've been working on for a couple weeks now.
What's that?
So, Your Honor, there was a situation where there was a car in Miss Group's name. It wasn't supposed to be. So it's not really a financial issue that she needs to take care of, but she's communicating with the lender to get it out of her name. And she spoke to them today, but it sounds like it's going to take at least a couple more days to try to handle that. Because if it stays the way that it is now and she's incarcerated, obviously that's going to ruin her credit because it's going to be like a repossession.
Well,
Her should have never been in her name.
I'm going to sue them for that, actually.
So
I'm gonna have a lawsuit with them actually for that, because the car was never supposed to be in my name and they put it in my name.
For how long? Was it in your name?
It's been probably 6 months and I never received any paperwork from them stating it was in my name, nothing. I just got a letter stating that the car had been repoed and that I had to take care of it and that it's gonna be set up for auction and stuff, and if I don't get it back in my possession, I'm gonna owe like $10,000 or something like that, so I have to fight that, cause that's.
Okay. Well, and I can appreciate all that, but that's not going to be done within a couple days.
No, but I did, what I'm doing is setting it up so a third party can handle it for me,
Okay,
so that way I have a chance to get that taken care of.
all right. So I will give you until Friday to report. So you have 2 days, because it'll be Friday at 6 PM.
Thank you so much.
Make sure you're showing up.
Oh, I will.
She will report to the Wyandotte Police Department.
No, she'll report to Wayne County, but she's gonna go over to probation. They'll give her all the information.
Okay.
Okay, so probation first and then, the reporting to Wayne County on Friday.
Yes,
6 p.m.
yes. So, they're gonna think I'm nuts when I'm telling them what I'm doing here, but it should, I'll have to explain it to them to make sure that I'm communicating it effectively. Okay. So, ma'am, as you're agreeing to 6 months probation, eligible for early discharge, which as long as you're complying with the conditions of probation, you'll be discharged in the 3 months. You'll get instructed, you'll have to ask for that, but not to violate any criminal law of any of government, you're not to leave the state without the consent of the court. You are to report truthfully to your probation officer as often as your probation officer may require, in person, writing, or virtually. You are to notify a probation officer immediately when you change an address or employment status. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol or drugs unless prescribed. You will have to do random testing. So you're going to have to figure that out, because that's the only way I can make sure that you're staying substance free and then, maintaining your eligibility for 7411. So you're going to have to,
That's after the 180 days, correct?
yes.
Okay, so I have time to hopefully I figure this car thing out and I can,
Well, right. And so, and I believe that we can even, where were you testing? DNA or on-site?
on-site.
Okay. I can't really get any,
Excuse me.
can't really get any less expensive than that. I mean,
Okay.
I don't, well, if the weather will be nice, you can ride a bike maybe.
It wasn't even the testing that was the problem, it was the Uber getting there, it was like roughly $30 to $40 to Uber there and then $40 to pay and then 40 to.
Right, and I understand, no, that's expensive, but maybe you have somebody has a bike you can borrow and you can ride a bike, I don't know. So, and I will say that I think it would be beneficial for you to participate in fan meetings once per month. That's, it used to be called Families Against Narcotics, now it's called Face Addiction now. And so it meets once a month and it would be helpful for you. The rehabilitative goal for that condition is so that you can have additional recovery resources to help you maintain your recovery. All right. And so I'm going to order 30 days jail on the bond violation. I'm going to suspend that.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So then what I'm going to do then is I'll order a $100 fine on count one, $100 screening. Supervision oversight fee is $300, which is $50 a month at 6 months. But since you're eligible for early discharge, it would be $150. Okay, you could have up to $150 reduced. Waive the cost of prosecution, crime victim assessment fee of $75, justice system assessment fee of $50. That's $625.
And when is all that due?
Well, when you are released from jail, ma'am, you can then set up a payment plan or however that would work. Okay, obviously, you're not going to be making payments while you're in custody. Somebody wants to make them on your behalf, then they can certainly do that. Count two, $100 fine. I'm not assessing another screening fee. I'm not assessing another supervision or oversight fee. $75 crime victim assessment fee, $50 justice system assessment fee. I also didn't assess a cost of prosecution on that one either. So on that one, it's $225. So your total, ma'am, is $850,
Okay.
which is about as low as I can go.
I appreciate
Keeping in mind that up to 150 could be waived, so it could be down to 700.
Okay.
Okay? So, ma'am, please go over to probation. And I wish you luck.
Thank you
Okay.
so much for everything. I appreciate it.
Judge, lastly, we did review the report. The only correction is the sentencing date. It was originally March 26th. It's basically. All
Yes, yes.
right, thank you, Your
You're
Honor.
welcome. Good luck to you, ma'am.
The judge gave her a break, cut the sentence, allowed early discharge, and kept the door open with probation. But none of that matters if the same patterns repeat. This case isn't about rides or money, it's about choices. So here's the question. Was this a fair second chance, or just another one she's going to waste? Comment below, hit like, and subscribe for more real courtroom breakdowns.